Hey guys, welcome to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. My book, Streams of Income, is available for free at streamsofincomeradio.com, along with all of the past episodes. This radio show is also a podcast, so you can listen to it on demand in the car, as you're out jogging, in the gym, wherever you are. You can listen to all these past episodes on demand at streamsofincomeradio.com. I always say I'm excited for a guest. I don't think I will ever book a guest that I'm not excited about. That would not kind of defeat the purpose, but really excited about this one. This is the person I've known. Tyson, I had Honey on. Honey from Liberty.
Yeah.
And so I think I might have, I got to Liberty in 7th grade. Nope, I've known you longer. I have known you longer than any guest that's been on this show.
Wow.
And
well, so I feel honored.
Tyson and I go back to, he's a year older than me, a year older in school. And so we go back to middle school when my parents and my family moved to a new church in Anderson, Indiana. And that's where his parents and his uncle actually was the pastor. Got to know him and his family. And we've been on youth trips together. Our parents have been friends for a long time too. So Tyson, it's so fun to have you on this show. It's so cool to see what God's done in our lives over the last, won't even say how many years.
Right. Thank you for that.
But he's a pastor, but he's also a doctor, not a medical doctor, but what is your degree in?
I have a doctorate in ministry.
Cool. Yeah. And you have a master's degree in business, right?
I do.
Man.
I have an MBA.
Holy
and a doctorate in ministry. I guess I'm just an educated mutt. That's what I tell people.
I love it. Well, he has a church, guys, in a small town. I'm from Pendleton, Indiana. And Tyson grew up in Anderson, but he has a church in a small town right next to Pendleton and Anderson called Appel. And tell us about I just love hearing people's stories, and we'll see where this goes. We have something. He's an author of a book called Delta to Victor. We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about change. So guys, stick around because this is so valuable for business and things that he preaches about, that he talks about, so applicable to my audience. So we're going to talk about a word that most people don't like to hear. It's not comfortable, but you have to, in order to make strides in business and life, you got to make changes. So we're going to dig into that. Well, Tyson, tell us your story. Feel free to
Sure.
Go back as far as you want.
Well, I don't think I'll go back that far because one, we'll bore your audience and we'll be here probably until the sun sets.
Right.
So, when I graduated, I worked for a Fortune 50 company and really, I guess, busted my tail, so to speak, to climb the corporate ladder. And I became a senior project manager there. I transitioned from there to a small company. And to be honest, anybody that's worked in business knows you need things on your resume to boost your resume. And so this was a resume booster. I helped that small company grow from just under $1 million a year in revenue to over $20 million a year in revenue.
Wow.
And so I was able to help them grow, but I still wasn't satisfied. And I still wasn't able to set my own schedule and do my own thing. And I began to spend some time in prayer and soul searching, and pastoring was where it was at for me. And so I walked away from the corporate world and felt led to come to a small rural farm town and start a church. And was told, probably like many of your listeners, you can't do that. That can't be done. And so maybe if we have time, we'll talk about how to handle those naysayers and deal with them positively. But we did it, we accomplished it, and we're being successful only by the grace of God, but we are extremely grateful for that. So I am married, have 2 awesome boys. So that's my story.
I love it. A small town, you go to a place where most people think, you're going to start a church, let's go to a larger town, and because there's going to be more people to pull from, but you did what you felt called to do, and you did it. Love it.
Thanks.
Love it. So obviously you've written a couple books now. One is a hilarious title. I don't know if it's not one that you typically, you haven't done your pod. He also has his own podcast called Succeed. It's brand new. It's really, really good. Listen to it. I was just recently a guest on it. your first book is called God, Sex, and Pizza.
That's correct.
Feel free to look that up on Amazon. And then your second book is called Delta to Victor. And this kind of gets into some of the content. And you, in your book, you said Delta is a triangle, and in shorthand, it's the symbol for change, and V is victory. And I know you'll be victorious in your change. So talk about that title.
Sure. Well, to make a change, to become victorious, we all have to make changes.
Sure.
Right. As I said in the book, a wise teenager once told me nothing good comes from comfort zones.
Yeah.
And so I think if we're going to be successful, we have to strive to make changes. And that looks different for everybody. You know, just prior to this call, as a pastor, I was helping someone who's struggling with a drug addiction, and was just in that conversation prior to this call. So, and for your people, you know, their change might be leaving the 9-to-5 job, and so they can spend more time with their kids. It might not be anything as serious maybe as a drug addiction, but it's so key that we change. I had a mentor tell me that it's not that we don't like change. It's just that we want everything to stay the same and get better.
I love that. Say that again.
It's not that we don't like change. It's just that we want everything to stay the same and to get better. And that's
like a quote I heard one time, or I think it might be Einstein, or he's been credited for it. The definition of insanity is it's doing the same things but expecting different results.
Right. Yes. So as I have worked in the corporate world and have worked as a pastor, one of the other things that I do is I'm the chaplain for our local fire and police department. And I have helped so many people with change. And, you know, there's no silver bullet to success. It looks different for everybody. But what I have found is that there are woven strands through success. There are certain things. So that's what I cover in my book. It's 22-day devotional. And it really is kind of those strands that I have discovered, whether I'm working with someone from the corporate world or somebody who's down on their luck, so to speak. I found that there are these certain strands that seem to stay true through every type of change. Yeah.
That's good. What I know we'll probably dig into some of those deeper. What would be a few of those that you just want to, like, we have 3 minutes left in this segment. Okay. Some of those things that you see in successful people that you talk to.
Well, one of the things that I talk about in the book is it's called the adoption curve. And I really got it from IT. But I have found it to be true in people's lives. When you start to make a change, if you think of a bell curve, and the far right-hand side are your what I call the 2%. They're your trailblazers, and they're going to sweat with you. They're going to bleed with you, etc. And then after that 2% are about 18% of your friends. They're the early adapters. They're for you. They're cheering for you, but they're not willing to put in the blood, sweat, and tears with you. That's about 18%. And then you have what I call middle adapters. That's the hump of the bell curve. That's 60%. 60% of your friends or 60% of the people are watching you, and they're going to say, I'll believe it when I see it. You know, which really, as we know, is not biblical or Christian. Christian is believe it, then you see it. Right? Not see it and believe it.
Right.
And then the last part of that is the late adapters, your 18%. They wait till everybody else in the majority come on, and then they jump on board. And the last 2% just will never accept your change. And you have to be okay with that. So what I encourage people to do if they want to make change successfully is they have to find their 2%. They got to find the trailblazers in their life, and they have to begin to adjust their calendar. And in the book, I walk them through how to adjust their calendar to get around their 2%. To be around the 2%. You know, Ryan, you were on my podcast just this week when it dropped, and you know, I just said, you know, you are one of my 2%. You know, when I think somebody that inspires me and it pushes me to do better and to be better, one of them is Ryan Rieger, and so we need to surround ourselves with our 2% because they're the ones that are going to make us better.
That means a lot, man. Thank you. Hopefully your spouses are your 2% too, folks, because, you know, it's
absolutely.
And if you also know, we talked about this on another episode. you may be the spouse who has the other person, is the entrepreneurial person. The best thing that you can do is just stand behind them, cheerlead them, support them, and push them to do what they feel like they're supposed to do. That's huge. As a guy, I can tell you that when my wife is telling me you can do this, that just instills so much confidence in me. So thank you, wives and husbands, the ones that are supporting that entrepreneurial person for what you do, because your role is so super important. So guys, we're going to dig in more of this with Tyson Priest. I'm excited about this, talking about Delta to Victor, his new book, talking about change, and a live event we're going to have in February in Indiana. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and I'm with my longtime friend. We go back to middle school with Tyson Priest, doctor, business, he has a master's degree in business, pastor, everything. He's just his father, husband. He's the man. Learned a lot from this guy and his family. His family have been really close friends of ours for a long time, and it's an honor to have him on here. He is the person that's I've known the longest that has been a guest on this podcast, this radio show. So Tyson, we were talking about the adoption curve, and I know you said that comes from IT. So I imagine it's like being in a corporate setting and, hey, we just got this big, massive new piece of software that everybody has to learn. Is that where that comes from? Where we talked about the 2% that accept it right away, and then on the other end, the 2% that never going to change and never going to accept it. And you've taken that principle and adapted it to essentially those people that we surround ourselves with?
That's correct, Ryan. We tend to, anytime we want to make a change, especially when someone's leaving the corporate world with what I'm going to call the benefits of the corporate world. I worked for a Fortune 50 company. So what did I have? Man, I had all kinds of benefits. I had great health insurance and dental insurance, but they paid for a gym membership, and I had, a lot of days off. They paid for me to go get my master's in business. I had all kinds of benefits. And so when you say, well, I'm going to leave that world and I'm going to go work for myself, people look at you really funny. Really funny.
Or I'm going to leave that world and go start a church in a farm town of Indiana.
Yeah, my boss literally rolled his eyes at me in his office when I said that. And so, yes, it's about surrounding ourselves and being involved in a community that's going to support us. Not everybody's going to accept this idea of change that we want to make, that we want to do. But there are those, as I said in the earlier segment, that will bleed and sweat with you. That's your 2%. What we have to do, though, to be successful, and you were saying at the break, is we have to surround ourselves in that community. That's one of the reasons why I'm starting what I'm calling a 2% mastermind group in January, where you simply pick the change you want to make. It might be starting your own Amazon business, but I've got one person in the group who's just got a bucket list of things they want to see and do, and they just want to be inspired to do it. So she wants to be surrounded by her 2%. And we need to be in community. That's what's so great about church and being a part of a church body and being with people that are going to celebrate you and not tolerate you.
That's good. Celebrate you, not tolerate you.
Yes.
Really good.
And so we have to surround ourselves with those 2%. They're going to encourage us. They're going to stoke our emotional fire, our mental fire, and maybe even our physical fire, right? To get up and do something.
Right. Yeah. Let me call on you. Hey, get up. You said you were going to do this. And that's what accountability groups are for. Tyson, in our business was, in all the people that I serve, those that are in community are the ones that are doing the best, because it's so easy, especially with an internet business, to do this at home by yourself. With you just be behind a computer and you would never have to talk to anyone. And for introverts out there, that might sound, that's the life. And that there is totally an appeal to that. If you are nervous around people or don't like to meet new people, you can totally do this business on your own. But I have found, though, the ones that are super successful are those that get around other people, that go to conferences, that break out of their comfort zone that we talked about earlier, and they do things that are a little bit uncomfortable. They make relationships. They build those relationships, because I can tell you guys, there's my business would not be anywhere near where it is now if it wasn't for those people that I've met, the books that I've read, but especially those relationships from people that I've met. And business partnerships have come out of these relationships. And so it's so super key. Get out, meet people. That's what we were intended to do. I believe that's why business was created, is so that we can, have a relationship with each other. So super good. Community is important. I love the 2% mastermind. That's a cool idea.
Can I
go for it?
Just
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I want to talk about, because behind the 2%, because that's very few people in our lives, there's a larger group of people called the 18%. They're the early adapters. Like, they're for you, but they're just kind of like, I'm not willing to sweat with you, but they're for you. They might even ask you when you talk to them, hey, how's that business going? How's that change going? But they're not really going to labor with you. So you've got about 20%. If you take the 18% and the 2%, you've got 20% of the people in your life that are at least cheering for you.
That's good.
Right? And one of the things that I did, it's a principle in church planting and starting a church. And this isn't my idea. I actually got it from a church planting book, but it's called the Person of Peace Principle. And it's the idea, it comes from, I'm going to give you a couple of verses because I'm a pastor. That's what I do.
Yeah, of course.
In Luke chapter 10, Jesus, most people know that Jesus had 12 disciples. But at any given time, Jesus actually had about 120. He had 12 that were close. And this fits with this adoption curve or acceptance curve. He had 3 that were really, really close of the 12. Peter, James, and John. Those 3 were his top 3. Then he had 12. But outside of the 12, total, he had about 120 that followed him on a regular basis. Okay. Well, in Luke chapter 10, he sends out 72 of his followers. And he says, go into the towns, and if they accept you and my message, come back and let me know. If they don't, move on to the next town. Don't stay. Don't try to convince them. Just move on to the next town. And so what he's doing, what Jesus is doing, is he's finding people of peace in those towns that will accept what he has, right? Well, what's he doing? Well, there's a few great business principles in this. One is there are going to be people that you already know, and I call it a bank account of trust. Trust is like a bank account, right? You store it, you save it, you build on it, because one day you're gonna have to make a withdrawal. Ryan, you're making a withdrawal in our trust bank account by saying, I'm trusting him to come on and give my listeners something valuable, right? So you're making a withdrawal from that trust account. So what happens then, that 20% of that adoption curve, you go to them and you say, hey, you trust me, you believe in me. Now, you may not say it exactly like that, but who else do you know that might be interested in this? Who else do you know that might be interested in what I have to offer? You use their trust in you to grow your business. And likely because they're family or they're close friends, will be, oh, well, I know so-and-so, right? Who else do I need to talk to? When I came into Lapel, this small farm town, I went around, I met principals, athletic directors, I met the town board, and in the process I said, well, who else do I need to talk to? Because my coach, my pastoral coach said, you're not just pastoring your church, you're pastoring the community.
That's good.
And so I just set out to say, well, who do you know? Who do you know? And using the trust that I've built to grow the church, or in your listener's case, to grow their business, to grow their network, so to speak. In Luke chapter 7, the centurion does the same thing. He has a sick daughter. And in that culture, he was not able to necessarily go directly to Jesus, because he was a Roman soldier. So he went to the Jewish elders. He went to the elders of the community and said, hey, I've built up a trust with you. Would you go get Jesus for me? Would you go bring Jesus to come heal my daughter? He used that trust. I think so many times we have people that trust us and that believe in us, but we're afraid to withdraw from that bank account, whether it's our own limiting beliefs of maybe they don't want to help me or I'm just not sure.
Mm.
Never say no for somebody.
Mm.
Always at least ask.
Right.
If you don't ask, you'll never know. So I encourage people then to find the person of peace in your life, make a withdrawal from that trust bank account. You never know where it's going to go. Ryan, because of that, I have just a few weeks ago, I was sitting in the Vice President of the United States, sitting in his office. I was talking with the president's staff in the West Wing.
Mm-hmm.
I have opened our state legislature several times in prayer. So I've had invitations. I've turned them down, but I've had opportunities to be a professional chaplain for an NHL team. So
That's awesome.
And I said no just because it wasn't my thing. It wasn't my thing, It wasn't me. You have to know yourself.
Yeah, we got about 30 seconds left too.
But I think it's so important that we use that bank account and find our person of peace to grow our business, to grow our networks.
That's so good, guys. I want to dig in a little bit more of this because it's so much of what he said. It is applicable to business, and we'll unpack that here in the next segment with Tyson Priest. Guys, we'll be right back. Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger. Grab my book, Streams of Income, for free at streamsofincomeradio.com, along with all the past episodes. So we're chatting with my friend, author, doctor, pastor, business, has a master's in business. It's Tyson Priest. I've known him for a long time, guys, and it's just an honor to have him on. We're talking about change. It's something that's not comfortable. I loved how we talked about at the beginning that you said a wise teenager once told you that nothing good comes from comfort zones. It's so much easier to sit, like you said, in on the couch eating potato chips and watching TV. But most people know that's not going to lead them to the life that they're called to do. And so you got to change. And another thing I love that you said, I want to reiterate, is we just want things to stay the same but get better. And that's not possible, guys. You have to make changes. And in Tyson's book, Delta to Victor, he talks about how to make those changes and takes you through a 22-day journey in showing the life of Nehemiah and how that plays into it and pulls wisdom from the Bible for making change. But we were talking about the making connections, the person of peace, and how you said Jesus had the three that were super close to him, Peter, James, and John. Then he had the 12, but then he had 120 people that were actually following him at any one time. And he sent out 72 to all the towns. And so let's dig back in where we were there, talking about that person of peace, what that means for somebody, and how can somebody apply that to their business?
Sure. Oh, that's a great question, Ryan. And when you find those people that are willing to share that trust bank account with you and burn through a little trust, they're going to introduce you to their friends, right? When you say, well, who else should I talk to? Who do you think I should talk to? And you follow that lead. And so let's say you meet Joe Smith, right? And you meet Joe Smith and you're talking to Joe Smith and telling him about what you're doing and you're learning, right? You're always for them. It's never about you. It's always for them. And so as you're talking with them, there's a couple business principles that when I was a senior project manager at Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield, one of the things that I always tried to do, and this is a business principle you carried into this relationship, it's under promise, over deliver.
That's good.
Under promise, over deliver. So what does that mean? Well, let's say you set a date, right? Let's say, hey, I'll have that we have a big date coming up, right? December 25th. It's a big holiday. Yep. Hey, I'll have that to you by December 25th. I'll have that to you on December 25th. You know what you do? You provide it to them on December 23rd. So what does that do? Well, that immediately begins to build trust. Wait a minute, this person is a person of their word. They beat their own deadline, right? And there's multiple ways to do that and live a life like that. We don't have time to get into the details to do that. But you always want to under promise and over deliver on that. Immediately begins to build trust with people. And then the other thing that we always want to do, and hopefully this is just a part of our personalities and who we are, but I have found out that this is not always necessarily the case. It's this: be you, be authentic. Authenticity attracts authenticity. Authenticity attracts authenticity. People who aren't truly honest and aren't authentic don't like to be around people who are transparent and authentic.
That's good.
They just don't. In fact, Jesus even said in John chapter 3 that those who live in darkness don't like to be in light because it exposes who they are. And so your listeners are going to come into situations with people or with business dealings that other people just aren't going to be authentic, but they just need to be authentic and real and be honest. And that's going to build that trust. And then especially when they begin to underpromise and overdeliver, that's going to begin to build trust. So what happens now? Well, your friend, Joey Bag of Donuts, just introduced you to his friend, Joey Smith. Now, Joey Smith now has trust with you. So now you say, hey, Joey Smith, who do you know?
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes you're going to hit dead ends. That's okay. Sure. You know, with every cavern of no's, there is one diamond of a yes. And that's what you're looking for.
That is so good. Guys, there's so much we can unpack here. And while you said that, Tyson, I think it's so valuable in this age of the internet. If you're not authentic, people are going to find you out anyway. Maybe 30 or 40 years ago, you could totally hide behind, whatever. I mean, it's just in the internet with Facebook and Instagram, it's so easy to check people out. And so guys, it's so true. Be authentic. And what you said is so powerful. And I would just take action on it right here. And those of you that are listening to this podcast, this radio show, that have read my book, if you think it would help others, feel free to share that. Tyson in my heart is to see people live their dreams. And that's why he has the Succeed with Tyson Priest podcast. That's why we're doing an event in Indiana in February. And it's called Streams of Income Live. We'll talk about that in the next segment. But invite people to that. It's going to be up in Indiana. We have people that are coming from Michigan, from Kentucky. I'm flying from Texas to come do it. And I want to change people's lives. And I've partnered up with Tyson to do this. And because he knows how to get people to change. And then I'm going to come in and show them, okay, you want to make a change. You want to increase your income. What are some ways to do that? And going to be some very practical stuff, but we'll dig into that in the next segment. But share this podcast, share this message. And guys, this is not about me. This is about the message that I feel that God has called me to deliver. I'm just the messenger. And, Tyson's the messenger of this message about change and, doing what God's called you to do as well. And so it's just an honor to partner with you on that. One thing I also want to say to you, what you've done well is you said you always for them. So you go into the Joey Smith because Joey Bag of Donuts, and it's not about what that person can do for you. I mean, of course, in the back of your mind thinking, it'd be so great if he could introduce me to him because he knows this person. But
right.
You're going in and what does that person need?
Yes.
And if you can serve them, come in with an attitude of service, then because they have the leverage. And so what can you do to bless them and help them? And what I've seen your church do is incredible. You guys, and this is not the direction we were intended to go, but it's so valuable with business. You serve the community of LaPel and the surrounding area like no
right.
church I've ever seen. And guys, you should check out their church is called The River. If you're anywhere near LaPel, Indiana, go there because they just have a heart of serving the community. And anytime there's an event, you guys are there. You host free things, free garage sales. When there was a storm that came through and blow, whatever that word, it blew through Pendleton. Your church was there to serve and help clean up. And I mean, I'm sure that's probably got you some new members potentially, but that's not the reason you're doing it. You're just showing Jesus to people. Why don't you talk about that and how that's helped, just what's that done?
Yeah. So again, when you serve people, that builds trust, and not just for individuals, but as an organization.
Mm-hmm.
When you serve people and do not, and I want to stress that, do not ask for anything in return. You know, our free rummage sales, I call it legally stealing. You see it, you like it, you walk away with it.
Uh-huh.
We had one gentleman that just could not grasp that concept. And so he got angry with us and threw down a $20 bill and stomped off. And so immediately then I picked up the $20 bill,
Uh-huh.
and I handed it to another family, and I said, "Here you go. Go out to eat tonight."
Yeah.
Because what I have found is this, and I do not mean this to be selfish. I'm just stating a fact. When you help other people's dreams become a reality, your dreams become a reality.
Mm. Yeah, that's what Zig Ziglar said, which is you help enough to get what you want, basically help enough people get what they want.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to try it. It will just begin to happen. And so some of the things that our church has done, we're in a town of 2,000 people,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so we did an egg drop for 5 years in a row, where a helicopter comes in, flies in, drops eggs. We had 4,500 people at this event. We doubled the town in one afternoon.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was amazing. You know, our church, we believe in generosity and being generous towards our community. And so one of the things that we do every year is we take up a special offering for a non-faith-based community organization. We've given to the high school, the fire department, the parks department, and we've given away over $30,000. And for a small rural town, that's a lot of money.
It is.
So it's just about constantly loving and caring for others.
Oh my gosh, guys, that is so good. Run your business this way. Find people to serve. I know that we talk about it on this podcast a lot. You serve people, then that's how they come back to you. And, some of them will do business with you. You just serve them well, keep them at the forefront, find out what they need, give that to them, and opportunities, guys, are going to come your way. It happens to me all the time. And so I'm super excited about this, excited to do this event with you, Tyson. We'll talk about that here in the next segment, because we'll be right back with more of Tyson Priest. Hey guys, welcome back to the Streams of Income radio show. I'm your host, Ryan Rieger, and we're hanging out with my good friend, Tyson Priest. Known him for a long time. And so Tyson, it's awesome to have you on here. It's so cool. I never would have thought, tell the Ryan and Tyson of middle school, hey, someday you guys are going to be on a podcast together. Tyson's going to have a podcast, and you're going to have a podcast, and you're going to be on each other's show. We would have like, what's a podcast?
Right. Exactly.
What's the internet?
Oh my gosh, you just dated us, Ryan.
That's right. Okay. But guys, this is so cool to have him on. We got some really good stuff that we're talking about, and how things that are in his book, Delta to Victor, that you guys can get on Amazon, are so applicable to what we talk about here and work with somebody's business. So we were talking about your church, how you serve people without expecting anything back. And I know that's probably grown your church. You probably had some people come, but I know, I just know you, that you're not thinking, ooh, yeah, we serve 500 people. Maybe we'll get, 50 to come. And, that means this number of dollars in our church coffers. No, that's not how you're thinking. No. You're loving people. And as a result, people are drawn to you guys, and your church has grown. So I know you wanted to, I don't know if there's anything to finish up there. If you want to get into the momentum, how that's created momentum for your church.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it has created momentum because now, just recently, a couple of weeks ago, the teachers at our local elementary were in need of something. The school didn't have money for it. And the word got around the parent teacher organization, and they said, well, go ask Tyson and the River. They'll help our teachers out.
I love it.
Yeah. So we have become known as a church that serves our community and loves our community, and we're outward focused. And what that has done is that has created all kinds of momentum. And I just want to tell your listeners, if you start serving others with the gifts and the talents you've been given, you will create momentum for yourself. It's inevitable. And once you have that momentum, we think it's hard to create momentum, but really, once you understand momentum, it's not that hard to create. as you start serving and loving and building the trust banks as we talked about and so on, you'll build the momentum. The trick is keeping momentum, because we tend to rest on our laurels. It's human nature. Well, I did that. I accomplished that. That's good. One of the things to maintain momentum is you have to focus on the future and not the past. Focus on the future and not the past. In fact, I tell people all the time, your last success is likely your greatest deterrent to your next success. And I want to say that again for your listeners. Your last success is likely the greatest deterrent to your next success. Because we tend to think, yep, I did that, and we just move on. You know, it's kind of like, yep, I did that, okay. So we need to focus on the future. If you want to keep momentum going, you got to keep thinking about the future, not the past. The other thing you can do to keep momentum going is have a constructive mindset. It's much better than a critical one, right?
Oh man, that's good.
Yeah, it's the I can attitude. I remember one time when I was a kid, I wasn't planning on sharing this, but I will. One time as a kid, I came home with homework and it was just overwhelming. And I was sitting at my desk in my room and I was getting frustrated and mad, and Dad was trying to help me. And then I started barking at my dad because I was mad. And my dad just, and you'd have to know my dad, and Ryan, I know you know him. He just subtly says something. He doesn't get upset. He's sitting on the edge of my bed looking at me, and he says, I can't, never got the job done. I did, accomplished it. And then he just got up and walked out of the room. I can't, never got the job done. I did, accomplished it. And I was like, and that has just stuck with me all my life.
That is good. There's so many reasons why you could have, somebody could have talked to you a few years ago before you started the church and saying, you know what, you can't do that in Lapel. You can't do that in Indiana. You can't leave a corporate job and become a pastor. Why would you do that? Why would you put your family in that position? You have a safe income, a good income, good benefits. And, but no, man, you just followed what God called you to do. And that is so cool. Guys, don't settle. Do not settle. I know there's so many of you that are wanting more. Tyson, before we get, because that flows perfectly into our event. Anything else you wanted to say there?
I would just say one thing on keeping momentum is, and I think your people hear this from you all the time, and it's so true. It's so wonderful. Action over indecision. Just act. Just make a decision and go. I don't know how much time we have left. Do I have time to share something?
Yeah, we're good. We got time. Yeah, 5 minutes.
Okay. Just a quick story that I have on day 20 of change in my book, Delta to Victor. I just want to share this story. There was a teacher at the beginning of every year. He was a physics teacher, and he would hang a bowling ball from his ceiling. Right? And each year he'd ask his class, can this ping pong ball move the bowling ball? And most every year, the vast majority of students would just shrug it off. Like, whatever. Some students would even smirk and say, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. But every year, obviously to their surprise, the ping pong ball that weighed 0.006 pounds would move an 8-pound bowling ball.
Oh my gosh.
What he would do is he would take the small ping pong ball and he would just start to swing it and let it, if you think of a pendulum, right? And that ping pong ball would keep hitting that bowling ball that's hanging there, right? And eventually the momentum from the ping pong ball, that's 0.006 pounds, moved an 8-pound bowling ball. That bowling ball weighs 1,333 times more than the ping pong ball. But physics is physics.
That's right.
And the lesser with momentum is more. So if I can just encourage your listeners to keep the momentum going, don't stop.
That is so good, guys. He's touched on so much. We got 3 minutes left. We want to tell you about the event we're doing in Indiana. But Tyson, the people that I see that do the best, that succeed in business, are those that have the I can attitude, those that have that negative mindset, just don't. And you also talk about paralysis by analysis. You said just make a decision, just move forward. Guys, with action will come that clarity that you need. God cannot direct a parked car. I think I said that on your podcast.
Yes, you did.
And so just start moving in the direction you feel called to do, and you'll know. And just pray for wisdom and direction. But guys, I'm super excited to do this with Tyson. I've had this on my heart for a few years, to do an event that is kind of introductory to ways to make money online. And I thought, where can I do this at? I thought maybe obviously could do it here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But then talking to Tyson about some other things, it was very clear that his heart was in the same position as far as wanting to help people. And so because he was a pastor and because he has relationships and those persons of peace, we're going to team up and create what's called the Streams of Income Live. So Streams of Income Live event. It's February 1st, 2020 in Pendleton, Indiana. It's at Faith Church. Thank you, Faith Church and Pastor Walt Weaver, for opening up your church to us. It's going to be, it's 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., free coffee, either donuts, scones, or muffins, one of the two. Lunch is included. You're going to get my book, Streams of Income, my book, Finding Your Grace Place, and Tyson's book, Delta to Victor. So it's only $75, guys. We're keeping it crazy affordable. Prices do increase on January 1st to $99, and at the door, I think they're going to be around $130 or something. So get in now, reserve your place now. The person that's going to get the most out of this is somebody who is wanting more, who knows that there's more for them, that is knows that they are supposed to be doing something different or want to create a stream of income. They know they need to change. They don't know how to do it. That's the person that we feel like we can help the most. So we're excited to do this. Tyson, anything you want to add? And we've got about a minute left.
No, I just want to encourage your listeners to don't stop, to keep pushing forward. There's so much in life that comes at us, but if we can really just focus and keep what I tell my church all the time, keep the main thing.
Yeah.
And don't get distracted. And I believe they can. I believe your listeners can be victorious. They can change towards victory. They can create multiple streams of income. And so I just want to encourage them to keep it up, keep pushing, keep moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. So guys, it's streamsofincome. To sign up, go to streamsofincome.com/live. streamsofincome.com/live. The link will be in the show notes. So don't worry about writing it down if you're out jogging or in your car. streamsofincome.com/live. That's February 1st in Indiana. Welcome anybody from anywhere. But of course, I know it's going to be easier for you, the guys that are more local. So Tyson, thanks for being on with me, man. This is an honor to have you. Excited to do this with you.
Great to be with you.
Yeah. And guys, get Tyson's book, Delta to Victor, and we'll see you all in the next episode.